Welcome to this presentation about the Affordable Housing Report Card for St. Louis, Missouri. I'm Jenna Gibbons, a librarian at the Brentwood Public Library, and I'm really excited about this conversation and thrilled to have Sunny Hutton and Jen DeRose with us today to present this information. I just want to welcome you and thank you for being here and sharing this information with us. So I'm going to hand that virtual mic over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Jenna. I'm so appreciative of the library and them sharing this out for all of you. I think this is really important information and we're really excited to talk to you today. Again, I'm Jen. I'm with BlackRock Consulting. It's an employee-owned consulting company focused on making the St. Louis region better for all of its residents. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Sunny Hutton. We're going to be tag teaming this presentation so you're not having to listen to one of us talk the entire time. So the St. Louis Affordable Housing Report Card, which is what we're here today to discuss. This report card evaluates affordable housing needs, like how many units we may need for residents at every income level. It also assesses housing repair for homeowners and renters alike. It allows advocates to assess whether the region is actually making progress towards providing affordable housing to all of its residents. The report card is a snapshot. It tells us where we are right now in meeting our housing needs and gives us a grade based on our housing goals in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. It also gives us a baseline for creating goals and strategies to improve our ability to provide affordable housing to everyone. So this report card was created with the encouragement and support of many affordable housing stakeholders in the St. Louis region. I'm just going to name a few of them. It was commissioned by the Community Builders Network of Metro St. Louis for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Coalition. It was funded by the Deaconess Foundation. UrbanRx served as the lead consultant on creating the report card with support with OCO design and engagement. BlackRock Consulting, that's me and Sunny, are the lead consultants in informing and engaging our community around the affordable housing report card. So before this report card, we lacked the baseline data to guide policymakers and advocates as they make decisions and demands around housing that impacts our residents. Now, with this report card in hand, stakeholders like you have a fuller understanding of where we are, which is the very first step in taking action. Two of the challenges for affordable housing advocates are quantifying the need for affordable housing and setting concrete goals for housing policy and programs. A solid assessment of where we are can inform policy that will support and incentivize the needs of housing development that will meet our community's needs. This model is designed so that housing advocacy groups, government agencies, and housing developers both here in the St. Louis region and in other communities from across the country can replicate it. You're muted, Miss Sunny.
All right. Now we cannot discuss affordable housing in the St. Louis region without considering race. So race has sculpted St. Louis's social geography and physical infrastructure, dividing Black and white families both physically and economically. This geography of inequity was created intentionally through many decades by those in power and reinforced, sometimes unintentionally, through our systems, some of our current systems and infrastructure. So when we look in areas that have high levels of poverty, or I'm thinking of areas like North St. Louis, this is due to a history of racism. Many of these neighborhoods, Black residents and Black families were blocked out of the housing market. The real estate, you're probably already familiar with this, but I'm thinking about the real estate industry and how they redline neighborhoods. So specifically Black neighborhoods, they would say like, these are undesirable areas to live in, and redirect homeowners to other areas. This also, families were also being discriminated against when it came to getting a loan for a home. So many Black families were denied home mortgages and home loans. And municipalities and cities themselves have strategically disinvested from these neighborhoods and areas too, which just continuously perpetuates racial segregation, continually perpetuates economic deprivation.
Yes, exactly. But what are you talking about? St. Louis is so affordable.
I've heard that before.
What? Have you said this before? You know, I've definitely heard it, and I've actually said it several times in my life. But the fact is that those of a certain income and household size will never experience difficulty achieving affordable housing. Like some of us are fine. They can live where they want and be guaranteed a standard quality of life, right? However, the reality is that depending on your income level, affordable housing can be a mirage, right? Families making less than $25,000 a year have incredible levels of competition for affordable housing. And we'll show you more about this in just a moment. Some people are on a waiting list 10 years just to get assistance lightening their housing burden. That fact helps illustrate the volume of unmet demand for affordable housing in our area. So there are two important limitations in the data that we have in this presentation that we really need to acknowledge. The first limitation is that there's a lot of data that is currently not being tracked. This data would give us a more accurate and detailed picture of the state of affordable housing and who is most affected in our region. Of particular concern is that HUD does not disaggregate data on severe housing problems based on race. The report absolutely recommends that this is something that starts being tracked. It's really important to understanding where we're at. The second limitation is that this report is really heavy on facts and figures, but we lack a lot of the stories that humanize those numbers. Your feedback is really important. So your feedback after you watch this presentation will really help us make a difference in translating this information into ways that policymakers can really take and move with. So there are going to be several ways for you to participate, and we'll talk about those at the end of our presentation.
All right, so before we jump right into the data, let's clarify a few terms. Some of you may already be familiar with these terms, but they're just key to keeping up with what we're saying. All right, so there's area median income and then median family income. Area median income, or AMI, varies based upon a person's household size, county of residence, and total household income. It's not an average, it's the midpoint. So you see the 74,000 that's circled, that's the midpoint. Half of the families in our region are earning more than 74,000, and then the other half are earning below. So that median income is the midpoint. AMI is used to identify which households in the region are eligible to live in income restricted housing units, as well as what is considered affordable housing to household with various incomes in the region. All right, so households less than 80% of the AMI. So we're looking at the left side of that 74,000. They're considered low-income households. Households earning less than 50% of the AMI are considered to be very low income. And then households earning less than 30% of AMI are considered to be extremely low income households. Affordable rents for housing units vary by the number of bedrooms in that housing unit, and this is because the income limits vary by household size, and the number of bedrooms affects how many people in a unit can comfortably be housed together.
Right. So median family income is a little different. Median family income is a way to exclude non-family household incomes, since affordable housing targets families. So we have one more term we got to explain. For the purposes of this scorecard, housing cost burden includes both rent burden for renter-occupied households and housing cost burden for owner-occupied households, okay? A renter is rent burdened when the household pays more than 30% of its income on gross rent, which includes contracted rent and utilities. That's really important to understand. An owner is described as housing cost burdened when the household pays more than 30% of its income on selected housing costs, which include the mortgage, of course, as well as taxes, utilities, and fees. So it's important to consider it's not just like, oh, I'm paying $450 a month in rent. It's like, what is your utility cost included in that? Affordable rent is based on your income, where you live, and who lives with you. For our region, here are the affordable rents per income bracket for families of 3. For those making $22,400 a year or less, $549 a month is the very most that family could spend on rent and utilities before becoming rent burdened. So 549, keep that number in your head. We'll get a little bit more into this in just a bit.
All All right, so this is our actual report card that we're taking a look at. We split it into more than two slides. We split it into a couple different slides so we can break each one down for you. So just look at it like you're going back to school and you're taking your math class, you're taking your science class. It's just the same. And now you got to show your mama the results. Let's look at it like an actual report card. A's are normally 90 to 100%. B's are 80 to 89. C's 70 to 79%. D's are 60 to 69. And then F's, that means you didn't understand what was going on at all in class. It's a 59 and below. So a C isn't so bad, right? Because our overall score is a C for how many percentage of households that have affordable housing. But we really need to break that down to see who's winning and who's losing in the St. Louis region. All right, so 56% of renters have affordable housing. So that's in F, compared to 79% of homeowners, which is a C grade. Whether you can find affordable housing in St. Louis very much depends on your income. So only 22% of extreme low income households and less than a third of very low income households have affordable housing. That's an F. Like it seems worse than an F because it's at 22%. The only group who achieved an A in affordable housing are people who make more than the area median income. So we're looking at people that are above that 74,000. Yeah, they got enough, 96%. And then for this slide, we're looking at it being broken down by race. So we were looking at renters, homeowners. Now we're looking at just households based on race. In the St. Louis region, 77% of white households can access affordable housing, scoring them a C. But only 56% of Black households have access to affordable housing, scoring us an F in the St. Louis region. Likewise, while only 61% of white renters have access to affordable housing, it's a D grade. Our grade for affordable housing access for Black renters is still lower. We're only at 45% Black renters having access to affordable housing. That is an F.
A lot of F's.
A lot of Fs. I don't think our mama is happy about this report card.
You're grounded. Yeah.
I mean, my mama used to be like, "Why you get a B?" But I got a different kind of mama. 82%. So we're still looking at, now we're about to take a look at homeowners. So 82% of white homeowners can access affordable housing in the region, but only 72% of Black homeowners can.
That's right. So that's pretty sobering. Let's break these scores down just a little bit, considering supply and demand. First of all, households that make less than 30% of AMI, extreme low income households, those have the largest unmet demand for affordable housing. St. Louis City and County need an additional 34,000 housing units with gross rent less than $549 a month in order for those renters to have affordable housing. Another way to look at it is that St. Louis is full of options for affordable housing as long as you make close to 50% of the average median income, right? So let's put a face to some of these numbers. About 27% of total renters in our area fall into the 30% AMI category. Let's say a child care worker makes $22,000 a year and has 2 children. This family needs to find a rental unit that is $549 per month or less, including utilities. Overall, our housing stock is short over 35,000 units to meet demand for renters in this particular category. An EMT in St. Louis makes around $35,000, which falls into the 31 to 50% AMI category. An EMT's 3-person family can afford up to $934 per month in rental costs. Because they can afford anything below $934 per month, they are in effect competing with a child care worker for housing that is affordable to her family.
Yeah.
We have about 81,000 more units than we need for this particular income category for EMT workers. If a paralegal makes a little under $60,000 a year, she falls into the 51 to 80% AMI category for our region. per 3-person family can afford up to $1,493 per month in housing costs. We have 137,000 more units than we need that would be affordable to people with her income. Seems like a lot. A keynote to consider is the complications of a limited supply. A limited supply or lack of housing availability results in housing market competition, leaving families across the region forced to pay more than they can afford for housing. Additionally, a significant portion of the most affordable unsubsidized units are likely to be substandard housing, which we'll talk about shortly.
All right, so now that we've looked at renters in our region, let's take a deeper look at home ownership and housing cost burden. So based on estimates of supply and demand, there appear to be sufficient affordable housing options available at all income levels for homeowners. There are nearly 72,000 homeowners who have very affordable housing costs, but less than a third of those homeowners are in the lowest income bracket. So housing cost burden is much less common for homeowners than renters across all racial groups in both St. Louis City and county. But again, this turns out to be mostly based on income more than the act of homeownership itself. So Black homeowners are more likely to be housing cost burdened because they are more likely to be low income due to a history of systemic racism. And income makes all the difference in housing burden, as those in the lower median income brackets have far greater housing burden than higher earners.
Right. So the strongest predictor of housing cost burden is income, not race or whether someone is a renter or a homeowner. This does not mean that Black residents have equal access to affordable housing, though. Black residents in St. Louis City and St. Louis County are more likely to experience housing cost burden because they're more likely to have low incomes. In fact, in St. Louis City, white households' median income is nearly twice that of Black households, which is awful. So now we see communities that once openly practice outright racial discrimination in zoning, lending, and housing, currently practicing income discrimination through exclusionary zoning, large security deposits, and discrimination against those who use housing vouchers as an income source, which effectively blocks Black residents from certain areas and from home ownership. Rent rates are the highest among Black renters in St. Louis City at 58%, followed by Black renters in St. Louis County. Rent burden rates are lowest among Asian renters in St. Louis County at 19%, followed by white renters in St. Louis City. So, you are muted, Miss Sunny.
I was muted again. I'm gonna get it. So we're gonna move to goals and suggested ways to work towards those goals, but I just wanna again highlight some important findings from the report card. The only group that achieves an A in affordable housing are households who make more than the median income. All right, 29% of households in St. Louis City and St. Louis County do not have affordable housing. 44% of renters and 21% of homeowners in our region do not have affordable housing. Additionally, 25% of city renters and 22% of county renters experience severe levels of cost burden, which means their rent exceeds 50% of their income. Black renters are more than twice as likely as white renters to spend more than 50% of their household income on rent. And only 56% of all Black households have access to affordable housing. So remember that F grade, compared with the 71% of all households in our region. Only about 45% of Black renters have access to affordable housing, compared with 61% of white renters and 56% of all households in our region. So Black renters, again, 45%, that's an F. 61% for white renters, we said that one's a D.
Yeah, so it's pretty sobering numbers. We want to talk a little bit about, we talked about the report card. We want to talk a little bit now about the affordable housing report. Here are some of the themes that we've explored in the report. The report breaks down the current data, policies, and initiatives the St. Louis City and St. Louis County have to address these goals. So one of the ways to improve our current housing situation is to maintain the quality of existing affordable housing, both for subsidized housing and for naturally occurring housing in the market. When unsubsidized housing, I really struggle with those words, unsubsidized housing units cost more to maintain or keep up on property taxes than they bring in rental income, then they're at higher risk of either increasing rents, which then get passed on to tenants, or the units become and then stay vacant, right? So when those housing costs become untenable for the property owner, that has ripple effects throughout the community. Vacant properties are at higher risk of being permanently removed from the housing supply through demolition. According to the 2019 American Community Survey estimates, there are nearly 38,000 long-term vacant residential units in the St. Louis region, which is really upsetting. If you remember back to before, we were lacking 34,000 affordable housing units for low-income families. So that's maybe there's a solution there.
Right. And another way for us to improve our affordable housing situation is by improving the quality of the existing units, ensuring units are both functional and accessible. So housing quality refers both to the physical condition of the unit and the quality of the social environment where the home is located. So physical environment, is the home well insulated? Are we free of mold and lead? And when I think about social environment, are we close to amenities like schools and grocery store? So housing quality is one of the most important measures of success to the members of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Coalition. However, it is one of the most difficult to measure given a lack of timely and meaningful data collection on the federal and local level.
There's that lack of data collection again. That keeps showing up, doesn't it? So keeping people in their homes or preventing displacement is another goal suggested by the report to improve affordable housing for our region. Displacement occurs when residents are forced to move from their homes through formal or informal evictions for renters or foreclosures and tax sales for homeowners. Displacement also occurs when rent is raised past the point that renters can pay. Over the span of 5 years, rents have risen 11% in St. Louis City and County. While evictions reduced 70% between 2019 and 2020, that is really due to the federal moratoriums on evictions. There's widespread concern over the mass eviction events that we predict once those moratoriums expire. Before the pandemic, St. Louis County had over 4,821 evictions, while St. Louis City had 3,138 evictions. And I'd mention, I do want to just clarify a term, informal eviction. There's formal evictions which are legal and informal evictions which are illegal. And I've personally experienced an informal eviction, and it is a traumatic life event, let me tell you.
Yeah, and the data that we have only tracks the formal evictions. So those numbers mentioned for St. Louis County and St. Louis City are higher. All right, so another goal from the report is to preserve existing affordable housing through financing for home repair and rehabilitation. Property owners should generally plan to spend between 1% to 2% of the home's value on the annual maintenance. There are existing programs in place to help homeowners make repairs, such as St. Louis's Healthy Home Repair Program that's in the city, but they have a wait list of over 5 years and over 1,200 people. There are insufficient maintenance and renovation dollars available to public housing agencies to maintain all the properties in their portfolio to a high standard. And in 2020, there was about $219 million in home improvement capital deployed to the St. Louis City and county areas. However, in that deployment, many Black applicants weren't able to access those home improvement loans.
Yeah, in fact, Black applicants were more than twice as likely to be denied a home improvement loan than white applicants. So that's stunning. Increasing the quantity of affordable housing is a fairly obvious goal outlined in our report. Building new affordable housing opportunities would help reduce the unmet demand for affordable housing in our region. We've built over 13,000 units in the last 6 years, which is great in theory, but the vast majority of these units are only affordable to high-income households. For affordable housing to help families thrive and not just survive, housing opportunities must be located in the places that those folks would like to live. And for affordable housing to help St. Louisans attain permanent housing stability, homeownership must become more attainable for low-income households.
We discussed the importance of amenities and folks' desires to live where they wish, and that is where support mobility as an affordable housing goal comes into play. So housing mobility programs are intended to help low-income households, typically families with children, move to housing units of their choice in areas with higher performing schools or better jobs. The primary tool to support household mobility in our region is the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which provides rental assistance to low-income households to access housing in the private market. Housing vouchers are the most common form of subsidized housing in the region, and there are about 13,000 housing vouchers currently in use, which equates to 51% of all subsidized affordable housing units. Housing choice vouchers of all forms are the most likely to be used or located in majority Black census tracts, where Black residents are more than 50% of the area population. The form of subsidized housing that results in the least racial segregation of affordable housing opportunities in the St. Louis region are those Section 8 project-based vouchers. So despite the intent of housing choice vouchers as a means to support mobility for folks to live where they want, the actual use of these vouchers is primarily located in concentrated areas. This map shows the distribution of where housing choice vouchers recipients actually were able to use their vouchers. It does not necessarily show where they want to live, but it does, but rather where they are able to find housing that meets the program criteria and landlords that are willing to accept it. So housing choice vouchers are supposed to be accepted everywhere. Like, you can't deny someone housing because of it's considered a source of income. You can't discriminate on that. But people and specific regions are blatantly doing it. In our region, the largest municipalities that do not have any households that are using vouchers are like Wildwood, Clayton, Town and Country, Ladue, and Brentwood.
Right. So the last strategy outlined in the Affordable Housing Report Card to improve our grade is to improve financing options for building new affordable housing opportunities. Building new affordable housing requires financing for land acquisition, demolition, construction, and rehabilitation of formerly blighted properties or properties with a non-residential past. Of course, new affordable housing also faces issues regarding race. Black applicants are 3 times more likely than white applicants to be denied a home mortgage loan. And this is largely based on credit history, which again is impacted by a history of systemic racism.
So these things were identified by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Coalition as important themes for affordable housing in our region, but they just require more research and additional data sources, improve quality of life in affordable neighborhoods, enforce fair housing policies, and increase accessibility for residents with special needs. Increased accessibility is referring to like more supportive services for our most vulnerable residents with special needs, including seniors, veterans, and people with disability. In terms of enforcing fair housing policies, we're trying to eliminate housing discrimination by those federally protected classes. So sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, those aren't currently protected and need to be. And there's a lack of enforcement on the local level of that. And then in terms of improving quality of life for residents of affordable neighborhoods through better access to amenities like living wage jobs and reducing disparities in health, having access to quality amenities in your neighborhood, having better environmental quality in your neighborhood.
Right, the air you breathe, being able to get to a grocery store, transportation, these are all very important things to consider. So at this point in the presentation, we wanted to provide you with some resources to take action. One of the ways that you can help make a difference is to join the coalition. Sign up for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Coalition, and then that way you can receive updates and learn how to take action and get engaged with other people in the network. And that link is right there available to you. Just search affordable housing or affordable STL, and it should pop right up. We also wanted to provide some other resources for those that might be experiencing housing insecurity, including eviction help, electric bill assistance. We talked a little bit about the burdens that come with being rent burdened, including energy burdens. So if you have trouble paying your utility bills, there are ways that you can address that through Ameren's Clean Slate program, the COVID assistance program. There are weatherization programs that can help you insulate your home better so that you're more able to withstand cold and hot temperatures. And there's rental and utility assistance from Spire as well. Did I miss anything, Sunny? Homes for All's eviction help hotline is A+ quality resource. I highly recommend it. And there's actually, depending on when you view this, if you view this before December 5th, there's a rental application event and you can get help applying for rental assistance. So I recommend checking that out. And here's again that Homes for All flyer. It's really cool.
All right,
So,
so tell us your stories. We mentioned earlier how this report was very quantitative, a lot of data, a lot of numbers, and we want to humanize it. Your stories validate this data, right? Your experiences put a face to what we're experiencing in terms of affordable housing here in the St. Louis area. So we want to hear from you. Have you had to pay for housing out of budget due to lack of affordable housing? Have your utility bills put you underwater? Are you on a waiting list for a housing voucher? Please share with us what's going on. Just go to this tiny URL and we'll drop it in the chat, and we'll also share it with Jenna so they can make this available to you all as a resource and to stay connected with us.
yeah, and I want to close by just giving an example of one of these sort of stories that might be useful to us and useful to the movement in general. When I was very low income and had a minimum wage job, I had an apartment that I could barely afford, and I got my utility bill in the winter, my first utility bill, and my utility bill was exactly as much as my rent, and I then had to immediately move because I could not afford it. And so that moving like that in a hurry sets you back. So those are the sorts of stories that we really would like to hear, and we want to help share those stories out. They can be anonymous. You don't have to worry about anything like that, but we would love to hear from you. So please do reach out. And I believe that concludes our presentation. Here's some more links to resources.
I was going to ask, is there a way that we could get, that we could maybe make the slides available too? Or is that something you want to keep?
No, we don't want to keep this. We want to share this. We want everyone to know this.
All right, good. So we can make I was going to say, we could even print off slides, for folks that might not be able to see it, and then we can put it in our lobby. So if anybody wants to pick one up, we'd be happy to do that.
I love the library. This is great. Thank you. That would be very wonderful.
No, thank you. I also want to mention that you guys are going to present virtually at Ferguson Library is going to host you guys for this presentation, and that's next Wednesday, December 8th, and that's at 2 p.m. And so you can sign up by emailing thall@fergusonlibrary.net. That information is also on our website. And the week after that, on December 15th, also a Wednesday at 7 p.m., University City is going to host you all for the presentation. And you can sign up for the Zoom link by emailing reference@ucitylibrary.org. Again, those are on our website, so you can find that information there. But I just want to thank you both for taking the time to reach out to us, especially after hearing that Brentwood is one of those cities that has no subsidized housing. Is that what, or not, none of those choice vouchers?
That's
Did I
right.
get that
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little disheartening, but it's also, maybe people don't know that. When people do know it, maybe they will and get more information. Then, hopefully things can change. So I just want to thank you again for sharing this with us.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate being here with you today.
All right. Take care.